Hi, and welcome to the Ann Arbor News Lunch Break, where we take a closer look at one of the top stories in today's Ann Arbor News. I'm staff reporter Art Eisner, and joining me today is Washington County Clerk and Register of Deeds Larry Kessenbaum. Larry, thanks for taking the time today out of your schedule during final preparations for next week's presidential primary. A lot to talk about with this primary, but why don't we start with what's most important for voters to know about the write-in portion of the primary ballot.
Right. The important thing to know is that write-ins in this election are not valid. In order for a write-in vote to be counted, the write-in candidate has to register with the state, in this case, to be eligible to receive write-in votes. No one has done that, so no write-in votes will be counted at all. So it's important for voters to realize that regardless of what your choice is, that a write-in vote is not a way to express it. It's not going to work.
And that's for both the Democratic and Republican Party?
Correct.
How are you handling folks who sent in absentee ballots?
The state has issued a clarification, in fact, on this specific point, that if you had already voted absentee and you voted write-in, and you now realize that your vote is not going to count if it's a write-in, you can go back you can contact your city or township clerk, get your absentee ballot back. It's not considered cast until the election day, until it's opened up and processed on election day. So you can go and retrieve your absentee ballot and get a new ballot and redo it.
Is that something that's specific to this primary, or is that always the case in elections?
That's always the case, but it doesn't usually come up. Basically, the concept of a spoiled ballot is you've made a mistake on your ballot and you can get it back and get a new one.
What can people do who support a candidate that isn't appearing on the on the ballot like most Democrats in this week?
Well, I think that on a presidential primary ballot, unlike any other kind of primary, there's a choice on the ballot for uncommitted, and uncommitted is treated like a candidate. So that if there are a certain number of uncommitted votes per congressional district, 15% for Democrats, I believe, that there'll be delegates elected who are not committed to a candidate. And what happens with those uncommitted delegates is that in the case of Democrats, there'll be a convention, a congressional district convention on March 29th, and the supporters, I'm sure, of all the candidates will be coming in to attempt to elect those uncommitted delegates, depending on how many there are, to the national convention. And I'm sure at that point you have the Obama supporters, you have the Edwards supporters, you might have the Richardson supporters and so forth coming together and attempting to elect those delegates. So what the uncommitted vote would do essentially is postpone the decision on whose supporter that will be until March 29th.
What are you anticipating in terms of turnout Tuesday?
Well, there's been a lot of different notions about whether we have a very small turnout or potentially a very large turnout. I think the race in both parties really up in the air at this point. After New Hampshire, that we have the potential for quite a large turnout. I think that the initial ballot quantities that were specified by the state were really potentially quite inadequate, and so in the same message I just mentioned, the Bureau of Elections is saying, here's how to deal with a ballot shortage. Well, I don't think we'll have a ballot shortage in Washington County. We ordered for summing all the local clerks, all the local jurisdictions in the county. We have over 250,000 ballots for this election. I don't think we'll have 250,000 votes, but we're ready if there's a large turnout. But I've seen estimates as low as below 1 million and as high as 4 million, and I guess I'm kind of agnostic about it. I don't really have a clear notion of whether the high interest in electing the president and choosing the president is going to translate into a lot of people showing up to vote, especially when a lot of the candidates are not on the ballot, and when the campaigns are not out there banging on doors and telling people you've got to vote for us today. You're not going to have that to anything like the extent you would if this were officially sanctioned by the national party's primary with all the candidates here spending their money and so forth.
Thank you, Larry, and please come back to mlive.com throughout the day for more news and updates.